Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC Fight Night 132, Cowboy versus Edwards. So without further ado, let's get to the first fight on the main card. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the welterweight division, Li Jingliang versus Daichi Abe. Li Jingliang been in the UFC for a good minute, very well rounded, but he gets things done with his hands more often than not. He's good everywhere else, not exactly phenomenal everywhere else, but his striking, his grittiness and all that stuff, it makes him a very solid fighter and a very respectable fighter. Also, that experience is a factor, especially against somebody who like Abe, who has, I think, only 2 fights in the UFC, 1-1, but a lot of talent in a young fighter as well. So, Daichi Abe, a lot of power. He's a good front runner. He starts out the fight very good, and he can certainly hurt you. His striking is respectable. But I don't think that will serve him the best against Li Jingliang, who's somebody who has not the best defense, but certainly has a lot of heart, a lot of grit for a lot of top level competitors, and none of them have ever stopped him via TKO. He might have like a submission loss or maybe 2, but no TKOs from striking, especially against somebody like Abe, who is really like not the best knockout artist himself, and kind of fades after the first. So that could factor against Abe heavily in this fight. Because Jingliang, usually when somebody comes for him heavy in the first round, he usually finishes them up later on in the fight after their flurries and their momentum kind of shifts against him later on. He just turns it around against them, and he comes back at them when they start to fade, knock them out, TKO them. So it could look like this fight could play out a lot like some of Jingliang's past performances. And that's kind of how I'm going to say it's going to go. I think Daichi Abe in his last fight, he started out good, first round, dominant first round, and second and third he faded and just lost that fight. And that's not going to factor well for him against Jingliang. I think Jingliang has fought plenty of people and plenty of top-level competitors, and none of them have been able to starch him in the first round. So I don't think Abe is anything different. He's not exactly no special phenom or nothing, or no super-level striker or no K1 champion, nothing like that. I don't think it will be any different unless he does something else. And I think grappling-wise, I will probably give Jingliang a little slight advantage. So I think in this fight, I think Jingliang is going to use his full skill set when needed, if needed. Weather the first round and just wear him out through the second, wear him out through a lot of the third, and then finish him late in the third round via TKO. So in this fight, I have Li Jingliang via third round TKO. Then on to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Jessica Rose Clark versus Jessica Eye. And I think Rose Clark is a respectable opponent. She's definitely the women's flyweights to watch out for. But Jessica Eye, I think, has just fought significantly better competition. Been in UFC a good minute longer, fighting the best of the best. A division up for Misha Tate, former bantamweight champion, Cerrone, silver medalist wrestler, title challenger for Juliana Pena, Ultimate Fighter winner, one of the better grapplers, one of the more relentless fighters. And really, I don't think none of these fighters finished her. And those are the top level competitors of the division up. So I don't think Rose Clark is really not even close in comparison to those level of competition. But that doesn't really mean everything, because it's not like Jessica Eye has beaten those people. She lost to them, but still, I think Jessica, you look at that style-wise, I think Jessica Eye striking is noticeably better, cleaner, faster, crisper. Neither of them are really power punchers. I think Rose Clark's striking is kind of stiff, but it gets the job done for her. And she kind of has a good grappling, heavy, smothering style. But against somebody like Jessica Eye, who's fought in better competition, I don't think it's going to be that effective, especially with her slow, plotting style. I think Jessica Eye is going to be able to tag her from a distance, use angles to defend the takedowns better, and be in position to use her fight IQ and her veteran experience to pretty much just win this fight. I don't think it's going to be a dominant performance. I think it's definitely going to be close. Rose Clark might have her moments, but Jessica Eye is just going to be using her veteran experience, her skill set, to make sure she's just doing just enough, or doing what she has to do to win the round, just like she did in her last fight. Just doing what she has to do and know what the judges are looking for and where she's at in the fight. That's going to do a lot for her in this fight. But I see a close but clear-cut decision for Jessica Eye. So in this fight, I have Jessica Eye via decision. Then on to our co-main event, we have in the light heavyweight division, OSP versus Tyson Pedro. OSP has been in the top 10 at light heavyweight for a couple years now, and Tyson Pedro is like the new blood, one of the better prospects coming up in the light heavyweight division. So this will be a tough fight to predict. Both 6'3", both filled out for the weight class, definitely pushing and stretching that 205-pound limit as much as possible. Both athletic, both talented. OSP has pretty good striking. It's a very awkward and not the most technically appealing striking, but he makes it work. Definitely has a lot of power in his strikes, both kicks and punches. He has a Von Flue choke. I think Tyson Pedro is definitely the better grappler in this matchup as far as overall. Striking, I would give it to OSP. Power to OSP. But it's definitely going to be an awkward match. OSP's coming off a loss, and not even just like a decision loss. He got dropped and submitted by Ilir Latifi. But he has that in common with Tyson Pedro. They both have losses to Ilir Latifi. Pedro via decision, and OSP via submission. So they both had that in common. It's the same with their height. So they have a couple things in common. Age factors on Pedro's on Pedro's side. Experience and who's probably closer to their prime at the moment, I'll say OSP. Whether he's leaving his prime or around his prime, I think he's closer to his prime than Pedro is. I think Pedro's still improving, so there's a lot of things to kind of gauge in this fight. But I'm gonna kind of go with OSP in this fight. I think I'm gonna go with OSP in this fight because just off that veteran experience, I think he's gonna need this fight to win, coming off that poor performance, and he's gonna fix things up a little bit, use his kicks more, get back to using his kicks, because definitely they make his opponent react to them, get them off their game. Throw some push kicks, teep kicks, body kicks, mix them up a little bit so he can get his hands going better, control the range better. Tyson Pedro certainly has decent takedown offense. It's not the best. And OSP has respectable takedown defense. So I think Pedro, if he wants to get it to the ground, he's going to have difficulty. He might get it there, but I think OSP is very good at defending takedowns and also is very good at getting back to his feet. It might not be the most technical or the most pretty, but he's very good at doing it. So I think he'll be able to deal well with Tyson Pedro's wrestling and grappling enough so that he can be comfortable throwing kicks, and when he landing kicks and all, and mixing up his striking with his his boxing, whatever, striking with both hands and feet, kicks, knees, and all that stuff. That's when his striking is at his best. And I think he'll be able to do that effectively against Tyson Pedro. I say it still will be a close fight. It really could be a split decision, but I think it's gonna be one of those fights where OSP's veteran experience, and once he starts getting his groove back a little bit in this fight, he'll be able to take control and win this fight. Close fight, but I think it will go OSP's way via decision. So in this fight, I have Ovince St. Preux via decision. Now on to our main event. We have in the welterweight division, Donald Cerrone versus Leon Edwards. Donald Cerrone was on a 3-fight losing streak, then he bounced back with a win over Yancy Medeiros via first round TKO. Now it's like, you look at Donald Cerrone's career, he has these huge streaks where he looks like he's unbeatable, then he loses, kind of has that little skid right there, and then he comes back and looks unbeatable again. Regardless of the weight class, he always has this kind of pattern. So it's looking like he's about to be on that unbeatable streak again, looking like at least. But he's definitely not fighting no cakewalk fighter in Leon Edwards, who I think is one of the better strikers at welterweight presently. Top 5 in my opinion. He's even beating one of the other top 5 strikers at welterweight at the moment in Luque. He beat him pretty clean, clear cut, no split decision. It was a respectable fight, but it was clean that Leon Edwards pretty much won most of the rounds in that fight, and clearly so. Leon Edwards is definitely one of the better strikers in this division, top 5 in my opinion, easily without debate. So this could be a tough fight for Cerrone. It could be a fight that breaks his kind of pattern of he goes on his huge win streak. It could stop him from getting on that streaking pattern that he's used to. So definitely a toss-up fight. Definitely 50-50. I think most people are going to go with Cerrone, but I'm going to lean toward Leon Edwards. I think his striking he has pretty crisp striking, both hands, feet, knees, kicks with his punches. So that's the people that Cerrone usually lose to, because he doesn't have the best defense. His striking stance is pretty really square. So it's easy for people to land punches because there's no really place for him to move his head at. And Leon Edwards has those clean strikes. He's very good with his hands, very good at mixing to the head and body, mixing up the full MMA game. Has underrated grappling, but I still give Cerrone the grappling advantage, and probably significantly. But whether he'll be able to use it significantly, I don't really think so. I think he'll be able to have the edge there, but I don't think he'll necessarily be able to use his grappling too much in this fight to where it will be a huge factor. But it's definitely something to watch out for. And Leon Edwards has underrated grappling, like I said. But I think it's going to be grappling as far as it goes. I think it's going to be about even. Striking, I'll give it to Leon Edwards, especially during the early parts. Unless he starts to fade. If he could keep the same pace, I know Cerrone could keep the same pace, but if Leon Edwards could keep the same pace, we haven't really seen him go into the 5 rounds, so I don't know if he can keep that pace. But if he could keep the same pace, I think he could cause Cerrone problems throughout the fight. I think he could mix up to the head and the body, which Cerrone has been known to not deal well with, and cause Cerrone a lot of problems. And I think after a close competitive first 2 rounds, I think he's going to start to break down Cerrone. And I see a 3rd round TKO for Leon Edwards. It's going to be a good fight. back and forth, but Leon Edwards is going to find that mark, break Cerrone down, and stop him in the third round. So in this fight, I have Leon Edwards via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for UFC Fight Night 132, Cowboy versus Edwards. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.